These are slides. They are under development, so we will jointly continue to develop this. It's about advanced media delivery predominantly, and I tried to pull together this, but there's support from Jason, Frédéric, Richard, and so on, and many others. So basically, the agenda that was set. So there's an introduction, and then there's the different topics of advanced media delivery for 5G media streaming. And as said, I tried to create some of these aspects, but I just ran out of time today. Then there is also the MBS MMS 5G broadcast we can look into, and then I have a quick outlook to release 20 as well. This is what I reuse, what we do in 3GP for media services. We look at codecs. So what we're basically trying to do is addressing the issue to profile technologies to 3GP services and media service enablers. And this is around codecs, formats, content delivery protocols, access and distribution technologies, security, content protection, provenance, rendering and presentation, quality of service, quality of experience, data collection, intelligence. So most of this is about following content delivery protocols, to some extent access and distribution. There's a bit of security, content protection, and then there's also data collection and intelligence is included here. So there's nothing about codecs and formats. These are typically handled as well, rendering and presentation as well. As a background, so we did in release 19, a work referred to advanced media delivery. So that's an umbrella. And the idea was to enhance 5G media streaming broadcast to be fit for purpose and benefit from modern streaming technology. So most of the release 19 was really less focusing on upgrading, let's say, the control plane or the media session handling plane, but to integrate existing technologies more into the workflows of 5G media streaming. And for this, we had a study, and the study completed in December 2024, I think that's wrong, the stage 2, and in March 25. And then this identified normative work, I get there in a second. And there's also more study topics for future releases. And then we did stage 2, that was completed in March 25. And then we'd have stage 3 work, and that was predominantly done in SA4, but some work was delegated to CT3-4, who basically for the northbound interfaces. That was completed in September 25 in our ad hoc group meeting in Paris, and then ratified and approved by the SA plenary that happened mid of September. We still have some work to be done on the Open API and some other aspects that relate to conformance aspects, for example, also XML schemas, they need to be fixed and so on. So that is the part that is a bit dry. What I have here is there's a list of topics, and we looked at many different topics in this advanced media delivery study. And only a subset of this, basically what is indicated in yellow, moved forward into normative work. And I will now go through this. What, for example, was not covered, and issues like dash HLS interoperability, modem optimized usage of media streaming, and so on. Part of this is maybe picked up in release 20. So I'm not going to read this because we're going to go into the details, but let me move forward. So more from a structural point of view, there is 2 reports available. One basically looks at 5G media streaming extension that was already developed in early releases, but we just piggybacked the work there. And you would find quite a lot of details there that have identified and discussing different topics. And some of those have been discussed in a lot of details. Some of them have been just captured rudimentarily. And then we created conclusions for each of these topics. And some of these conclusions are pretty firm. The others are not that much yet. And then we have recommendations. And based on these recommendations that are documented in 26804, we moved on and covered the work for release 19, normative work for 5G media streaming. And there's a similar technical report, which has actually a lower number. The latest version is 26. It's 26802 version 1920. And there we had a less topics, but still a few topics that were discussed. And again, from those, a subset has been progressed into normative work. We do this nowadays in 3GP to have this study phase, which proves to be useful. And it documents a bit also the motivation and kind of there might be different solutions that are discussed, and the different solutions are then not everything is progressed, only the solutions that are then considered being useful and have been evaluated are progress. We know that this is of value as well for those who implement to understand why, for example, solutions have been picked and so on. Okay, so that is the baseline. So now what we have done, we created, I need to move this one somewhere else because it's here. We created a list of topics, and these are the topics that were exposed, and you would find that these topics address one of two specs, either 26501 in stage 2 or 26502 in stage 2. And in stage 2, 26501 is about 5G media streaming, the architecture, and 26502 is about the MBMS user services. I recognize that that table has not all the latest, but it's pretty good. So I will fix it before I distribute this. What you will find here is the topics. And the topics are common client metadata, then media delivery from multiple service locations, multi-access media delivery, distributing encrypted and high-value content, then 2 MBS-related topics, in-session unicast repair for MBS object distribution, MBMS user service and delivery protocols. And then this is a bit of a cryptic content. I think this at the end resulted in just one update for time synchronization. The others was dismissed. And then there's 2 more that relate to 26501, improved cross support and network slicing. They were separated into individual CRs, so it helps a bit to track this at the end. They've all integrated into a complete CR, and all of these technologies are now integrated in the release 19 version of 26501 and 502. So you can download this and look into this. I just point a bit that this was aggregated. You also would find people who have been driving this work predominantly here with the companies, but it was not driven by a single person. Typically, it was driven by multiple companies supporting this. And then there was a list of stage 3 topics and CRs, and they now address not only 2 specifications, but they address actually 5. One is not listed because the updates were so minor that it's not worthwhile. But 26510 is the media delivery architecture for protocols. So this is the harmonized specification also being combined with the RTC framework. 26512 is the protocols for 5G media streaming with a lot of, with now reference also into 510. 26346 is the MBMS user service. There were some updates done in the context as well, because there's a reference from 26517, the MBS user service protocols, into 26346. And now for each of the topics, there were updates done to different specifications, and they're all agreed and progress pretty far. You see the completion is not 100% because we still need to work on the open API extensions there on 3GP branches, and that is work in progress and will hopefully be completed in the November SA4 working group meeting. So these are linked, and so you could basically now jump into this and get this going. So that is about the introduction. Now we would dive into each of these topics in more details. But before I move on, let me check if people have questions or want to add anything on top of this.